Hey everybody, welcome to this week's edition of the R2 Hub Wednesday Wrap. This is my weekly vlog series. If you haven't seen one of these before, this is where I talk about pretty much anything that interests me. Most of the time we'll go over what the current status is on my projects, maybe some upcoming project information, a lot of racing information, especially this time of year getting down towards the end of the season. Let's see, what else are we talking about? We'll talk a little bit about football, some local sports, a little bit of television once in a while, and then pretty much anything else that interests me. So, well, let's get started. Alright, project updates. Oldsmobile is tentatively scheduled to get in for the window tint early part of next week. I was told hopefully before Thanksgiving. Let's hope that happens. Because right now we're tentatively planning on getting it into the shop to get wrapped Thanksgiving weekend. Also got another project. Got a little repair work on my brother's Jeep that needs to be done. He got in an accident a while ago, and he's actually supposed to get the Jeep back either end of this week, first part of next week. So we're going to try and get that into the shop as well on Thanksgiving weekend. Let's see, what other projects? Nothing new on the 300. Challenger's pretty much put away for the year. The motorcycle's put away for the year, and well, the four-wheelers are for sale. Probably put a link to the four-wheeler video below. I think I mentioned it last week that I was going to be putting them up for sale. They are officially for sale, so check that out if you're interested. Other than that, I was going to be maybe talk about another major project that I had coming on, but doesn't look like that may be happening now, so it's going to be put on hold. Maybe something else bigger in the works. We'll see how that plays out. I'll give you details on that as things get a little more finalized and get down the path on that project a little further. So that's pretty much it about projects this week. Nothing really new. It's going to be pretty slow on that probably going forward. Let's see. So moving into racing. Busy weekend in NASCAR this last weekend. All three series were in action. As you can see on the ticker up here, we've got the Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series. In the Trucks, we're all now finals set for championship weekend coming up next weekend. We have Johnny Sauter, who won here last weekend in Phoenix. And then we have Christopher Bell, who was my initial pick to win the championship this year. Then you have Matt Crafton, and then Austin Cedric, who is the fourth and final. We'll see. I'm not sure what his chances are going to be at Homestead, but otherwise, Sauter, Crafton, and Bell, that should be a pretty good race. We'll see what happens next weekend. In the Xfinity Series, and let's see, the race winner was William Byron, which locked him into the championship weekend, followed by Blaney and Jones. Neither one of those are eligible for the championship weekend, as they're both Cup drivers. So the four drivers that made it to the championship weekend that have a chance at winning the championship is Elliott Sadler, who was, again, my dark horse, Justin Allgaier, William Byron, who was my pick to win the championship, and then Daniel Hemrick. He's actually made it all the way through the playoff rounds, and man, he actually showed quite a bit of heart at Phoenix. I think he came in 5th in the race, which was what he needed to do to make the championship weekend. So good luck to him. Should be fun to watch at Homestead and see how that all plays out. Then in the Cup Series, we've got, man, was that a crazy race. That was actually a pretty boring race until there was about 75 laps to go, and then all hell broke loose. Probably the most, I won't say the most exciting thing, but one of the exciting moments in the race for me was when Jimmy Johnson blew a tire and hit the wall. To me, it's always a good race when Johnson gets wrecked, or wrecks himself, which in this case, that's what happened. I don't know if this is one of those deals, he's never really done anything that has irritated me other than they've been caught cheating quite a bit, and generally I don't like people that just win all the time. It makes it kind of boring. There's a lot of reasons why I wasn't real big as a Jeff Gordon fan because of how much he won. I probably wouldn't have been a Richard Petty fan back in the day either. I tend to root for more of the underdog types. Like right now, the driver that I'm pulling for really hard was Ryan Blaney. Unfortunately, he didn't make the championship round. But, they were a really small team with the Wood brothers, which historically used to be a really powerful team. Not what it hasn't been the last few years. But, getting sidetracked here a little bit. So Jimmy Johnson wrecked, so that made it a good race. But then after that, things got crazy. A couple weeks ago at Martinsville, we had Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott get into it. Hamlin pretty much dumped Elliott and took away his chances of winning the race. Well, got down towards the end of this race. Hamlin probably had the best car all weekend. Elliott's car came on at the end. They started fighting for their position. Elliott I think they were in like second or third at the time. I think it was third. Anyway, Hamlin didn't want to lose any more positions, which seemed a little strange to me because all he had to do was finish the race ahead of Brad Keselowski or right near Brad Keselowski, and he had been in the championship round unless Chase Elliott went up and won the race. Well, Elliott did eventually get around him, actually roughed him up a little bit, got him out of the groove, actually squeezed him into the wall a little bit. And then a few laps later, Hamlin then blew a tire and took away his chances of actually making it to the championship. Some were calling it payback for Martinsville. It didn't look like that way to me. It looked to me like it was just hard racing. Elliott probably wasn't going to give him any extra room and actually did squeeze him a little bit, but no more than it would have been for anybody else going up and trying to get a win to get into the championship, and much less his first win. So Elliott did get around him, got up to the lead with like 28 laps to go, kind of pulled away from the field a bit, looked like he had a real good shot, he was going to win the race, make it to the championship. But with 4 laps to go, Matt Kenseth had run him down and actually passed him and won the race. Elliott finished second, did not make the championship. However, it also prevented Hamlin from making the championship round. Johnson had already crashed out. So that basically left. So the 5 that were going for the final championship spot was Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, and Jimmy Johnson. And out of those, it was Brad Keselowski, when it was all said and done, who moved on to compete with the other 3 who were already locked in, which was Martin Truex Jr., who got in on points, and then you had Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. Should be an interesting weekend. All of them have a realistic shot at winning the championship, with the exception, I really don't think Brad Keselowski is going to be that competitive, but we'll see. Their strategy is usually second to none, so they might be able to pull one out of the magic hat. So that pretty much wraps up NASCAR. As you can see on the ticker, all the information as far as the finishing order of the top 5, and then the 4 who are in the championship for all 3 series. So moving on to Formula One, they were in Brazil this week. Some crazy stuff happened down there outside of the race. Apparently the Mercedes team members got held up by gunpoint. It sounds like maybe the Sauber team also had some issues. Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. On track, Lewis Hamilton had to start at the back of the field due to an accident in qualifying. So he actually started from pit lane. He didn't even start on the grid. Bottas had the pole. He ended up finishing second behind Vettel. And then Kimi Raikkonen came in third. Hamilton drove his way from dead last up to fourth. He was actually leading at one point, but due to pit strategy and tire strategy, he ended up being relegated back to fourth. I wasn't really sure about the call to bring him in to get tires at that point. He was leading by a pretty sizable margin. Obviously, I couldn't see his telemetry on the car. Maybe there were issues that were being identified, but I thought he could have at least got second or third if they'd have left him out. Vettel may have caught him and got around him, but I don't know if Bottas and Raikkonen could have. But that's why they paid them the big bucks, and I'm not a Formula One team chief. So there you can see the standings. Obviously Hamilton's already won the championship, so it doesn't matter. And Mercedes has already locked up the manufacturer's title, so now they're just racing for bragging rights. Let's see. That's it for racing. I think one of the forces, Courtney or Brittany, Brittany Force, I believe, won the Top Fuel championship. I think I saw a headline on that. But other than that, yeah, we're kind of winding down the season. We got championship weekend next weekend for NASCAR, and then I don't know if it's next weekend or the following weekend. I think it's Thanksgiving weekend is Abu Dhabi, so for Formula One. Moving on. Quick, into football. Vikings won last week against Washington. They're now 7-2. Case Keenum is remaining the Vikings quarterback for the time being. Apparently they're not going to mess with what's been working, which is fine. Next they play the Rams. It's a battle of the 7-2 teams. This could decide partly of who gets home field advantage through the playoffs. So, yeah, for the football fans out there, it should be a pretty good game. Gophers beat Nebraska. So they are now, I believe, 5-4. Sound right? Yeah. And they get to play Northwestern, who's apparently a pretty strong team. They're 8-3. So, well, we'll see how they do there. Maverick football, they won against Sioux Falls. They are 11-0. They are now opening up the playoffs because in Division II they have playoffs. They are going to be playing CSU Pueblo, Colorado, and who is a 9-2 team. So it's not a slouch team. So we'll see how they do there. We'll see if they can get into the next round. Maverick hockey. They took 2 from Bemidji State this last weekend. And then coming up, let's see, they have, looks like Bowling Green at home for a 2-game series. Earlier in the season, they played in Bowling Green, Ohio, and they'd split. So we'll see how they do this weekend. Well, let's go ahead and wrap things up here for this week. Did want to spend a little more time talking about projects. Doesn't look like that's going to happen because now the projects are probably going to be put on hold indefinitely. So let's just keep it short and sweet. Let's wrap this up. If you liked the video, remember to click like, subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon to make sure you get notified when new videos are brought onto the channel. You can also find me on Instagram at ilar01, also on Twitter at ilar01, and on Facebook it's rex.benjamin.ii. Thanks again for watching. And we'll go ahead and talk to you again next week, and probably got a couple more videos coming out later this week and this weekend. So look forward to those. Alright, catch you later. What? Ron? Seriously? Now? There's a reason you haven't been in the videos the last couple weeks. You're just being way too obnoxious. No, I am not showing them that. No, just stop. Come on. Put that up. Seriously? Seriously? Come on. Just stop it. There you go. You're on camera. Are you happy now?